Hi, it's Julia Pimsler. Welcome to Scale with Julia. Once a week, I'm going to be giving sales tips here from the real world so that you can get your sales up. I am a business scaling and selling coach, and I've been helping women to make more sales for the last 8 years. I've also sold $32 million worth of product and services. And I happen to love sales. So I am spreading the joy through this weekly live show and sharing some real life scenarios that might be able to help you. Today, we are focusing on limiting beliefs. Do you have a limiting belief around sales that is keeping you from making sales? We're going to find out by the end of this little time we have together. And if you have a question for me, you can put it in the comments. There is a little delay, but I will be checking over there to see if there are any questions. Before we talk about these limiting beliefs, I want to give you an update from last week. Last week, we talked about what to do when you have a good meeting or call with someone, and then you follow up and you get no response, crickets. We hate when that happens. So we had a woman in my 50K in 21 days sales program who was dealing with that. And I'm very happy to report that she did all three of the things I advised last week and got a response. So here's what she did. She had her assistant reach out to the person who she had the good meeting with to talk about next steps, and they got no response. Then she had the assistant reach out again, got no response. So she used one of my tips, which is to change lanes. If someone is not responding to you via email, go to text. If they're not responding there, go to Instagram. In her case, the changing lanes was as simple as sending an email coming from her, not her assistant. The second thing she did was manage her mindset. Instead of getting upset about it or worried or thinking, oh, he doesn't want to work with me, she was just like, okay, well, he must be busy. Let me reach out to him personally. Maybe he missed the email from my assistant. And the third tip that she also used is to send something of value. If they're not responding to the, hey, how do we get started email, then find a podcast or an article or something you found online that could be of interest to them and help them. And she actually spent a couple of days looking for the right thing to send this potential client. And when she found it, she sent a nice friendly follow-up email. And guess what? Within minutes, he wrote back and said, hey, we should get started on that work we're going to do together. So good job to the person who did that. Not naming names here, but you know who you are. And if you want to try one of those tactics to get a little conversation reactivated in your inbox, it's again, manage your mindset, change lanes, and send something of value. All right, now let's move on to limiting beliefs. So there are only two types of beliefs that we have, and this is for personal or professional, either empowering beliefs or limiting beliefs. And if you're wondering what your limiting beliefs are, because we usually know what our empowering beliefs are, right? Like, I'm good at being a public speaker. If you or someone who does a lot of public speaking, or I'm great at throwing parties if you're really good at throwing parties. But the things that you don't have in your life that you would like to have, and if you're here watching, I'm going to assume maybe you want to be making more money. Maybe you want to be selling more. You're looking for a little help with, getting your revenues up. Well, usually there's a limiting belief behind why that's not happening. And we've noticed in teaching sales these last 8 years to the various women going through our programs that there are three things we hear a lot as limiting beliefs around sales. So I want you to listen and hear if you have one of these limiting beliefs, because if you do, it is guaranteed to keep you from selling as much as you could be selling and from having the joy you could be having in that part of your business. So the top limiting belief that we hear about around sales is that people feel out of integrity when they're selling. They picture someone who's like a pushy car salesman, or maybe someone you meet at a trade show who's like, oh, come to my booth. We're going to get you signed up, right? Someone who's like very much about what they want you to do. We call this do to, not do with selling. So if that's an experience you've had either in your own, profession, maybe people selling to you in a way you don't like, or it might be personal. We had a woman in our program whose father was a real estate agent, and she remembers as a little girl that he would come home every night with this kind of like sales face on, like he was still in the mode of like selling. And she really didn't like that. As a little girl, she could tell that was not her like real dad. And she carried that into adulthood and just realized through our sales program that she has kind of a negative limiting belief around sales because it makes her think of that disconnect she felt with her dad when she was a little girl. So that's the top one we hear, is kind of feeling out of integrity when you're selling, like you're doing something to someone instead of with them, which if you have the right sales method, it's a do with, not a do to. The second thing we hear is that somehow salespeople are like aggressive, or someone said to me the other day, "Oh, I'm not good at sales. I just don't have that killer instinct." Killer instinct. Wow. That is not why I'm good at sales. I'm good at sales because I'm really good at listening. And I also really care about my clients. And so when I get on a sales call, it's about pulling out what the problems are, asking lots of great questions, listening, asking even deeper questions. It has nothing to do with a killer instinct. So if you have that kind of limiting belief, like people who are in sales are somehow killers, right? Looking to like go make the kill, make the sale. That's also going to stop you from wanting to embrace sales, learn how to do it in a way that feels good to you, and then, get the business that would go along with that. And the third thing we hear about limiting beliefs about sales is that it's somehow not the good part of the business. It's the bitter pill that you have to swallow in order to get clients to buy your goods and services. And when people approach sales that way, with that limiting belief that sales is like the yucky part that you just have to get it over with as fast as possible. And, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. We're not really sure why. Getting on calls, anxious, like, I'm not sure if they're going to say yes. And that limiting belief will lead you to not get on as many sales calls, not put yourself in as many opportunities to sell as you would if you had the empowering belief. And I'll just give you a hint of what that could look like, which is when I'm on a sales call, it's a chance to start serving the client right then and there. So like when my team and I get on calls, we always ask the question beforehand, how can I serve this person at the highest level? That may not be working together. That might just be asking some good questions about where they're going with their business, or recommending some books, or sometimes if they're not a fit for our program, sending them along to one of the other women's organizations. We have 10 partners, so we have lots of people to send them to. So that's something you could think about if you are finding that you're dreading those calls. You might have that limiting belief of like, this is the bad part of the business I don't like. And if you're looking to get rid of any of these limiting beliefs, and if you have one I haven't named yet, please throw it in the chat. I'm going to look in the comments. I'd be super curious. These are some of the main ones we hear, but obviously there are many, many others. And when we teach sales, we actually spend a third of the program on mindset, because you can't really teach sales skills on top of these limiting beliefs. First, we have to uncover them and replace them with more empowering beliefs so that the sales skills will stick. Otherwise, people will just be resisting it all the way through, and it doesn't work. I wanted to give you a little head start on this. In the program, we do this. So if you're interested in going deeper, reach out to us at millionwomen.com. You can see how to set up a call there. But also, we have a one-page Bust Your Limiting Beliefs little exercise here. And so if you DM me beliefs, just the word beliefs or belief, I will, just throw it in the comments, belief. We will get this over to you right away. And it allows you to just spend like 15 minutes thinking about, okay, what are my limiting beliefs around sales? What is that costing me? And what kind of actions could I start taking in order to get to the positive opposite of the limiting belief, right? If the limiting belief, for instance, is when I'm on a sales call, it's the part I hate that I have to just get over with. Could you have the empowering belief that every sales call is an opportunity to serve a client or customer, and that it's kind of the start of the work and it makes it a lot more fun? I actually have a whole chapter on limiting beliefs in my book, Go Big Now. So if you feel like, oh, that's my issue, Julia, I've got some limiting beliefs around sales, maybe even some bigger ones than what I just mentioned, then check this out. Chapter 5 is all around limiting beliefs. And you'll hear a bunch of stories of people who got over their limiting beliefs in business and what that allowed them to do. Because really, we all know this, but we forget, right, that mindset is the foundation of everything. If you have the right mindset, then you can go get the skills to do the things you need to do. Whereas if you don't have the right mindset and you're, hating something in your business or resisting it, or maybe like the woman in my sales program, you have very negative associations with something, then you're not going to do the work that's needed to make the changes. Same actions, same results in our business, right? As in our life. And we know that intellectually, but then we sometimes forget to change up the actions. So maybe changing it up today for you just looks like writing beliefs in the comments, and I'll send you this little sheet and you can get started on your own. Or feel free to pick up Go Big Now and read about busting limiting beliefs in chapter 5. The book is all about how to use the 8 most successful and used mindset practices of CEOs and leaders. So you might find some other things in there that would be of use. And if you have specific questions around sales, things that are messing you up or you'd like me to talk about here, then just throw it in the comments and I will be sure to get to it on one of the future Scale with Julia live sessions. So thank you for joining us today. And if you want to get more help with your business, feel free to reach out to us. Check out our programs at millionwomen.com, and I will see you right here on LinkedIn.